I got into a huge debacle with my spouse, and guys, things are not going smooth. I'm 30 and male. Got into an argument with my wife a couple months ago, and ended up saying some really hurtful stuff that she can't forgive me for. Essentially, we never fight. We have disagreements that are quickly resolved, but have only had one real fight in the decade we've been together. My wife is incredibly emotional. Sad, tears, reading book, tears, telling even a remotely sad story, yeah, tears. She feels things very deeply and responds sometimes inappropriately with the amount of emotion she reacts with. I've tried to not have a problem with this, as I know that it's just her nature. But it can be overwhelming sometimes and, well, embarrassing others. About 3 months ago, we happened to get into a huge fight. She was telling a story to some friends and embellishing quite a bit. So I just said, "Hey, I think you're lying a bit here. That didn't really happen like that." I wasn't trying to take away from the story, but I hate liars. And she does it a fair bit when storytelling. She told me that she does it just for comedic effect and that everyone knows she doesn't tell stories 100% accurate. It was still bothering me, however, after everyone went home and I brought it up again, to which she told me that we'd already talked about it, and she did not need me to correct her in front of her friends. I'll spare the rest, but we essentially got into a fight. I raised my voice, and she immediately started crying. More like sobbing. And I told her that she was being manipulative by doing that. Every time I bring up something she takes as a critique, she begins crying and says it's a manipulative way to get me to stop talking about whatever's bothering me. My mom did the same thing to my dad, and I hate when women do that. She asked me through shuddered breathing if I really thought that, and I said yes. I told her that she manipulates the argument into going her way by crying and playing the victim. She told me she could not even look at me and locked herself into our room to, quote, calm down. She came out a few hours later and told me that she was sorry if I thought she was being manipulative, and that it would not happen again. Problem solved, right? Except no, that's not it. I did not notice it immediately, but she starts pulling away from me. She won't watch movies with me if there's any sad parts. She doesn't tell me the stories that she's been watching. She won't tell stories to friends when I'm around, and now our friends don't want me to go out when they do, because they say she's no fun when I'm there. She stopped reading books in the living room, stopped watching unpredictable TV shows. She won't even talk to her mom on the phone when I'm in the room. I feel like I'm living with a ghost now. It wasn't until yesterday that I even realized I haven't seen her cry since our last fight. I brought it up last night, and she told me that she did not want to manipulate me anymore. I told her that her everyday crying was not manipulation, and she said, quote, "So it's only manipulative when you're mad at me." And now I don't really know what to do. I've apologized, said I was wrong for saying what I did to begin with, and that I should not have, but it did not help. I asked if she wanted to watch The Notebook with me since it's her favorite movie, and she told me she doesn't like it anymore. So what do? Can I do anything? Advice from married men and women, please. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. There's 2 updates for this story. The first one is just a little add-on to the original post. We'll jump into that now. I doubt many people will read this as it's part of my personal profile. I've read and considered the comments under my thread, and I deeply appreciate them. I've scheduled with an online therapist for tomorrow, and I'm currently waiting for my wife to come home. I'm not sure how she's going to react to what I have to say, but I'm hoping she'll give me a chance to make this right. I know it isn't something that can be fixed in a day or with a simple apology, but I'm willing to try anything at this point. I've researched marriage counselors in our area, but want to see how she feels before going forward with it. I also called my parents and let them know we would be going no contact with them for a while I try to fix my mistakes at home. I'm not so sure they'll want to talk with me even if I fix it, as they were furious that I'll be excluding them from this part of my life. But going off of the thread, I know that's a boundary I need to make to be able to focus my energy where it's needed. and disregard opinions that could only provide or prove to further divide us. I know many people have hoped she'll leave me, and if that's the avenue she wants to proceed, I won't hold her back from a happy future with someone who doesn't, quote, diminish her feelings and make her feel like less than she is. Alright guys, it seems like some of those comments on the original thread was starting to get to OP. Well, OP talked to his wife, and he decided to drop this update. I hope you guys are enjoying your day. If you're not subscribed to the channel, just take a second right now and click that big ol' red subscribe button. Here's your update. I talked to my wife last night. There was so much to say, and I've never been good about sharing my feelings. So it started off painfully awkward. I started with apologizing. Not what I did before by just saying sorry, but a full, I attacked your character and assumed the worst of you when given no prior reason to do so. I've damaged and hurt you in a way that I'll never forgive myself for and would understand if you could not either. There was more, but I'll save you guys from every single detail. She was mostly shocked when I started and did not say anything, but she did reach out for me in the first time since I've messed up. She looked like she was trying so hard not to cry, and I let her know that her crying has never been the problem in our relationship, that my unwillingness to accept people and see the worst was. It resulted in tears, and in the moment I've realized how much I missed her being her. I told her about how I was starting therapy and that I would like to do marriage counseling someday, to do what I can to mend the damages I've caused between us. But that I would need to go by myself for a while just to get the base reasons of why I react so harshly to stuff. Some of the comments suggested I write a letter to her, and so, while I waited for her to get home, I did just that. I wrote about how much I loved her, all of the things about her that made me happy, all the quirks and mannerisms, they were undoubtedly her. And then I told her I went no contact with my parents. I've never seen her light up so fast. She asked me if I was being serious, and I told her that to be able to focus on her, I could not have them whispering stuff in my ear any longer. She hugged me and cried for the better part of an hour, saying that they're one of the worst parts of being married to me. She said she can't forgive easily, but that she wants to work on us together. She wants us to move away from family, and we're discussing options that could make that actually possible. I'm not a good person in general. No one's ever described me as warm or caring except my wife. And I almost lost her by being manipulative and selfish. I can't put into words how much I appreciate every single comment, no matter the content. It made me realize just how much I really messed up. I don't deserve her, but she's willing to give me a second chance at this, and I'm going to be different this time around. I don't think it'll be quick or easy, but I would do anything for her. I don't know if I'll ever update after this. I have a lot of growing up and groveling ahead of me. It's not the update a lot of you wanted, but thank you all for the help. Alright guys, this one was wild. Story to start off with. There's a couple comments. Let's read the first one. Oh, it get worse. OP seems like an unreliable narrator. Apparently, he never saw his mother doing this manipulative crying. And he mentions his, quote, parents whispering in his ear about his relationship, and his wife became so much happier the moment he said he would go no contact with his parents for a while. My question now becomes this. Did he also have proof of his mother committing this act? Or was he told this by his father? So guys, that's a good little point. Let me know your thoughts or maybe how you would handle the situation if you were said girlfriend. Drop your comments down below and let's look at story 2. Would I be the a-hole for moving away from my disabled boyfriend? I'm 25 female. I've been with my boyfriend since we were 19. We were 23 and he was injured in a skiing accident. His injuries were so severe that he was paralyzed from the neck down, and he's been semi-comatose ever since. Other than that, he can do very little. He's no longer there. His body is essentially functioning on autopilot. There are more medical issues, but I don't want to divulge his private information any more than I just did. We were planning to get married. I still love him very much. Since his accident, he's lived at the hospital and then his parents. We lived together, but our fifth-floor apartment was not suitable for his needs, and I worked too much to care for him. His parents live 90 minutes away from the city. I visit maybe 4 to 5 times a week, sometimes more if I can. It's been a point of contention between his mother and myself that I do not visit every day. I literally cannot do this with the hours I work, and I'm scared I'll get in a road traffic accident driving in the dark and icy conditions. We live in a very snowy, icy state. His family basically lives on a mountain and runs a skiing resort, so the roads are terrifying. I work in a small and intensely competitive field. The salary I'm on right now is fine for the city that I live in, but I could be earning almost double if I relocate. I've been offered an amazing job across the country, and I just really want to take it. When I told his mother about how I was considering this job, she absolutely lost it. All of her marbles gone. She told me I was an awful person to consider moving away from him in such a state. She said I was betraying him simply by abandoning him and moving on without a care in the wind. I told her I couldn't just stop living because of what happened, and she absolutely starts screaming at me. I'm empathetic because I understand that she feels as though the world's moving on without him. I simply feel that way too. I'm very conflicted. I'm not really sure if it's the right thing to do or what's so wrong about this. Me and my boyfriend have promised we would marry each other. I do feel like I am abandoning him. I just need to know maybe a little advice. Would I be the a-hole for taking the job? Okay guys, Mr. Redditil here. We're looking at a pretty sad story. The verdict on the original post was not the a-hole. However, there was an update that came out just a little bit after the original post, so let's go ahead and see what OP had to say. The posts and comments and chats I received have pushed me to accept the job. I moved cities January 9th and I start my job on the 16th. This is all happening very quickly, but I've realized that I do need to put myself first, and I am not an a-hole for living my life, despite it being incredibly painful. My boyfriend's mother does not agree. She's no longer speaking to me, and I'm not allowed to see my boyfriend, who I guess is no longer my boyfriend and hasn't been for 2 years. I knew this would happen, so I said goodbye to him before I told her. I don't want to repeat what she said to me, however, it was just plain out awful. She says I've ruined Christmas because I've made the decision on the 23rd, but she knew this was possible, and it was time-sensitive offer. As one commenter said, it was never going to be a good time to do this. On the plus side, her hating me has made it so that I have to leave for this job. I have no ties here anymore. So I may be the a-hole in her eyes, but this is what I needed. I'm having fleeting moments of regret, but my family and therapist have said that in the 5 days since making this decision, I already seem 1,000,000 pounds lighter. I'm excited for this new chapter in my life, and I just want to say one more thing. Thank you again for all the kind comments. So this was a very tough story, super hard decision for everybody involved, even the mother I felt horrible for. Let's read this comment. If I was brain dead and or comatose most of the time, I would not want to remain alive. I understand that there might be a medical breakthrough in the future, and I absolutely don't think less of families who keep their loved ones alive. But I would never want to keep my loved ones and my wife just to stop her life for me in that situation. If I was sick but mentally there, as much as I am now anyways, well, I'd hope she'd stick around, but being comatose most of the time, well, I think that's totally different. So I need to know from you guys, the overall verdict was not the a-hole, but drop your thoughts down below and let's hear it, guys. Would you leave if this was the situation and you got a better job across the country? Thank you guys for joining in. Answer those questions in the comment section down below and we'll talk about it later. Have an amazing day.